Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Welcome to the DraftKings Week 7 Thursday Night Football Showdown, a game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints. This one has a really low total, 39.5 right now, with the Saints favored by 3. It opened up at 41 total with the Saints favored by 1. We're going to get into the news and why I believe the total went down, what Vegas is projecting with that total, and how that we are going to deal with the slate because of which. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot when you do hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot when you hit that notifications button. I come out with a ton of videos throughout the week, both long form and short form, and I don't want you to miss any of them. So make sure that you click that bell, ring it, become a part of the Noti gang. And if you wanted to join the Discord, we're going to get into that in a little bit after the bump music. That is the place where you are going to be able to keep up with all the news and the injuries and everything else with our community of 10,000 folks that are in that Discord right now, trying to get better every single day that they play daily fantasy NFL and spills over into NHL, NBA, everything else. We have a room for it. If you are a channel member here on YouTube or a subscriber on Twitch, go to smizzle.tv/join if you wanted access to all those VIP rooms. So let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 7 Smiz Gang Listener League, they kept it at 4,500. We filled it on Sunday morning this week. Make sure that you get your spots now. This is not a lobby game, but it is the best game that exists on DraftKings.com every single week. So go to smizzle.tv/links and you will find the link to the Listener League. It is $10 to enter 3 max. You can only enter 3 times, $4,500. And we will have a recap video on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel right here every single Monday that comes out, and you'll find a link to that and our Discord in the link tree. So make sure that you do that. Make sure that you join the Listener League today, and I will shout out the top 10 finishers every single Monday on that recap video. Let's go look at this showdown for this week. $2.25 million in the prize pool. $1 million the first. Unlikely that one person gets it all to themselves. So if you are that type of person, if you do have that kind of a funky lineup where random things happen, congratulations to you. We're going to take a look at this game, and we're going to build a ticket on Underdog, and we're going to take a look over at Fantasy Labs. So let's take a look at the captains first. You know what? No, let's not take a look at the captains first. Let's look at why this line is funky. Trevor Lawrence missed practice on Monday. He was a non-participant. His coach said he is day-to-day, and we don't know if he's going to play or not. Vegas seems to be projecting or protecting, one or the other. They are either projecting that Trevor Lawrence is not going to play, or they believe very seriously that he will not play in this one because the line fell. The total fell. Quarterbacks do matter. Running backs don't move a line. Wide receivers can move a line. Quarterbacks definitely move a line. And it looks like Trevor Lawrence is worth about 1.5 to 2 points because they went from a 1-point dog to a 3-point dog. So, and the total dropped 1.5 from open before the Trevor Lawrence news broke. I am going to operate on this video as though Trevor Lawrence is going to play. Okay. Backup would be CJ Beathard if you wanted to go that route. If he draws a start, we'll see. Monitor the practice reports. And as I said, I'm recording this video on Tuesday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. It goes live. If you're watching it right now, it's earliest it could be is Wednesday morning is when it premieres. So news can change and break. And again, if you wanted to keep up with all of it, join the Discord. So I'm going to operate as though Trevor Lawrence is in. If you're going to use Trevor Lawrence as your captain, you think that he's fine, plenty of weapons to use along with him. We're going to build a group on Fantasy Labs or whatever builder you use. It's going to make sure that we have at least 2 of his pass catchers along with him. The reason we're going to do that is if Trevor Lawrence has a day where, kind of like Dak Prescott, who was the optimal captain on Monday night, he's having a game where he is going to drag players along with him. So we're going to go with guys like Ridley and Kirk and Ingram. There's a lot of them. Monitor Zay Jones' injury. If Zay Jones is out, who's also a non-participant on Monday's practice, if he misses another week, which would make sense, right? It's almost essentially like another bye week. He missed this week. Give him the other 9 more days after this Thursday before he has to get back to playing again. It would make sense to kind of keep him out here. But if he plays, he's going to be in that group. And then if he misses, you got some other guys. Strange caught a touchdown. It was a very strange touchdown. We're going to talk about him. We're going to discuss him a little bit later. Agnew, no targets in a couple of games. He spikes from time to time. He's only 400 in the flex. Anybody who's going to catch passes, and McManus would fit into that group as well. Some of you get the reference, some of you don't, and if you don't, you have some summer reading that you need to catch up on. So 2 guys with him, and then we're going to also have a group on the other side to make sure that just skill position players, guys like Kamara, Olave, Carr, Hill would be in that group. No defense, no kicker. Well, you could allow the kicker. I'm not going to disallow the kicker, but I'm not forcing at least one kicker into that lineup, but the optimizer will put something like then Shaheed, everything else. With the 2 quarterbacks in this game, Derek Carr being the other one, yes, Derek Carr can be an optimal captain on a showdown because it's 1 game, super, like the smallest of sample sizes, 1. So like any random thing can happen, but it's highly unlikely, and he's going to be overplayed by the field. The 2 quarterbacks will tend to have more people playing them in captain than it is going to be the optimal way to go. If you have access to a Sims product, it will show you that percentage of time that this player ends up in the optimal lineup, projection of the percentage of people who are going to play them in captain, or sorry, specifically at captain in the optimal lineup. And it's almost always higher, the field being on the quarterback in captain lineups, than what they will show up in the optimal. So I tend to limit them to like 5% unless it's a unicorn. We don't have either quarterback being a unicorn, but same rules apply. If you're going to put Carr into the captain spot, you want all of his pass catchers. And I am going to include Alvin Kamara in that because we allow running backs who get like 15% or more of the target market share into our quarterback groups. They're essentially pass catchers who also get to run the football. So if Carr is in there, I'm going to include Kamara and Olave and Thomas. Taysom Hill actually played an awful lot of pass catcher this week because of the absence of Juwan Johnson, who had missed a couple of games. So like if he's out, you play him as well. We'll include the kicker in that group. Correlates well with the quarterback at captain. Rashid Shaheed has had some big games. He's the perfect showdown type player. Boom, bust type guy, and priced at a really weird spot, right? So it's going to be tough to fit him. And I think that his percentage owned is going to be lower than what it probably should be for his ceiling. If you are making lineups on median, he's not going to show up in a lot of your lineups. If you make lineups on ceiling, he is going to show up in a lot of your lineups. And that's why I kind of feel like people are going to go to other places because they're more consistent. Because the worst word you can use in a tournament when building a tournament lineup is trust. I don't know if I trust Rashid Shaheed. Trust is the wrong thing to think about when you're talking about tournaments. Can he have a big game? Can he catch a 50-yard touchdown? And he most certainly can. He's their best downfield threat, not named Chris Olave, who is racking up all of the air yards and all of the targets, but they keep going unrealized for whatever reason. So looking at the other potential captains, the actual potential captains who are not quarterbacks. 1, Alvin Kamara. So much opportunity. 27 opportunities, 25 opportunities since coming back from the early season suspension. He has not really cashed in yet with a ceiling of 21.4, 18.7, 17.4. He is a sleeping volcano that's waiting to erupt. You can't have as much volume as Alvin Kamara has had the last 3 games and looks to have that sort of volume continuing. Look what Derek Carr did for Josh Jacobs last year, and now Carr is going to do the same thing for Alvin Kamara, who's easily a better receiving back, more talented receiving back than Josh Jacobs. So like we're waiting on that 35-point game. I think he's going to be the highest played captain on this slate. 5-box running back, playing at home, favored, goal to go work, everything, right? Plenty involved in the passing game with 25 targets in the last 3 games. Just ridiculous. Chris Olave, I think is going to go underlooked because he hasn't had that explosion, right? Same sort of a thing. Well, Carr can't get him the ball. Well, he's got all these air yards. P keeps getting missed. Well, what if he doesn't get missed? Again, shortest sample size. Based on where this shakes out on percentage, he's somebody that I would want to overweight the field on. I think that Michael Thomas is a viable captain on volume, but he has not gotten there. No touchdowns. You can see like Carr is just not cashed in at all. And maybe it's the shoulder injury. 5 touchdowns in 6 weeks is just not good enough. But if he does have a 3 touchdown game, Michael Thomas does certainly look to be not back to where he was before, because that offense was different and Drew Brees is different from Carr. But like, he is getting open and getting separation and definitely getting more than enough volume with 8, 7, 6, 9 targets in every single game so far the last 5 weeks. Taysom Hill, I'm sure people are going to get real cute with this one. Anytime there's a showdown, Taysom Hill is a viable captain. However, Taysom Hill is also massively overplayed at captain every time the Saints get games on Showdown, because everybody wants that 3 rushing touchdown game or 2 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown and catches 3 balls. We're all dreaming of that sort of game where he steals from the other viable captains and himself becomes the optimal captain. But if you look at the percentage of time, think of the probability of the percentage of times that's going to happen, and think of the percentage of time or percentage of ownership that he's going to catch at captain this week. A lot of people are going to float to him, and I kind of feel like it's going to be a negative EV play. I'm probably still going to have some, but I want to underweight the field and be very particular about how I craft those lineups, because if Taysom Hill is the optimal captain, how am I going to beat all of the other people who are rushing to that as well? Now, the Jags wide receivers, this is what's kind of up for grabs. This is the thing that's hard to discuss, because one, Trevor Lawrence injury, right? Travis Etienne Jr., Saints are a very tough defense. Etienne is getting all the volume that we need. 21 touches last week, 2 touchdowns. The most encouraging thing to me is the inclusion in the pass game that he has not had before with this team. So like, they are actually throwing the ball now. Booing is for as good a receiver as he was in college and as talented an actual receiver he is in the NFL. They're finally using him as such, but they have so much talent on the outside and so many mouths to feed that he's not getting like Alvin Kamara CMC type usage in the pass game, which is kind of how he projected coming out of college. But 31 opportunities, 23 opportunities, 21 opportunities, 24 opportunities, just massive usage, whether they were playing from ahead or playing from behind. So a really high floor, super high ceiling when you consider the touchdown opportunities, but the Saints are a tough defense. So buyer beware, I suppose. Assuming that Lawrence is in, Christian Kirk, with or without Zay Jones, has had a ridiculously solid target floor. He gets more red zone and end zone usage when Zay Jones is out, because when Zay Jones is in the game, he gets a lot of looks when they get near the red zone. He just has that trust. This is the one time I will use it, is in NFL circumstances, right? Trevor Lawrence trusts Zay Jones when they're around the end zone, when they're around the gold zone, the red zone. He goes to Zay Jones more. So when Zay Jones is out, Christian Kirk's touchdown upside goes up. Calvin Ridley is almost touchdown dependent at this point. Yes, he's had enough volume, but like, his big games haven't really been there outside of week 1. He had a solid game in week 5 against Buffalo, catching for 122, but like, he is a floor ceiling player. He is a boom bust player. He has not gotten deep, like a 32-yard catch here, a 30-yard catch here, nothing over that at all. They are running this offense extremely conservatively for the most part, and not really doing a good enough job on a week in, week out basis. 4 catches, 2 catches, 3 catches, 2 catches. Yes, I think he could be the viable, not the viable, but the optimal captain in this slate. He's clearly captain viable, but he's somebody that you are understanding that he's not going to get there on volume, kind of like CeeDee Lamb could have gotten there on volume on Monday night. He needs touchdowns, and they could be very tough to come by in this game. And the other one, Evan Engram, really solid volume, 0 touchdowns so far. Tight end touchdowns correlate very well with targets, yards, receiving, all of that stuff. So Evan Engram getting way too much volume to have scored no touchdowns. He is a monster regression candidate moving forward. That does not mean that it's all going to happen in one game, but if we look at the first 6 weeks versus the next 6 weeks, if he maintains this level of workload, this level of volume, basically 8 targets every single week, he is going to get more than 0 touchdowns. Give me the over on 0 touchdowns the next 6 games that Evan Engram plays. And if you want to take the other side, please be the house. I'll take the house maximum on over 0 touchdowns. Let's go over to Underdog Fantasy and see if we can build a pick'em card. As you can see, Jacksonville has absolutely nobody on the ticket right now because of the uncertainty surrounding Trevor Lawrence. So for this one, let me put low. I always pick hires, right? Let me go lower than Travis Etienne's 63.5, because the low total and the possibility that Trevor Lawrence does not play in this one. when news changes, you can feel free to change that as we go along. But if you have not picked up, right now there's a $500 deposit bonus for a first-time depositor on Underdog Fantasy. If you're not going to pick up $500 free dollars laying in the street, or up to $500, if you deposit $200 on your first deposit, you get $200. You deposit $5, you get 500 bonus bucks. Just use the code ALSMIZZLE. That's ALSMIZZLE. And don't leave your kids laying in the street. Go pick up that free money. Give me Alvin Kamara higher than 29.5 receiving yards. Give me, let's build a big one here. Let's build a big one. Give me Chris Olave over rushing and receiving yards. Why not? Right? If it's the same number, why not? And let's go with Rashid Shaheed over 37.5. 100 to win 1,000. Click that, put it on in there. There's my ticket. It's that easy, and add a little fun to the game on top of everything that we're doing regarding daily fantasy. Head over to Underdog and see what they got for you today. Let's take a look at some players that I think might be under 25% or lower salary guys to help you fit your players in. So the first one, not Rashid Shaheed. The first one, yeah, it is Rashid Shaheed at 5K. There we go. Rashid Shaheed at 5K. Perfect up and down player, right? He can have 4 points. He can have 20 fantasy points. This is what we're looking for on a showdown if you want to try and win. He's also falls into that same range that we look for players like this every single week. People want to go stars and scrubs, or they want to go full balance when it comes to their lineup building in Showdown. So if I can get guys that are way up at the top in flex, who are way up here, and you're playing one of the optimal captains who are way around here, you just don't have the money to be in this 4,500 to 5K range. And a lot of people here end up picking a kicker or a defense, and Shaheed is just kind of sitting right there in a spot where he's going to go overlooked because he doesn't have the floor of somebody like Ingram. But remember, if you're playing a tournament, you're not playing for floor. You need to play for ceiling, and Rashid Shaheed is a perfect candidate along those lines. A little bit cheaper, let's look at Keandre Miller here at 1,800. Not getting a whole lot of usage, but 1,800, and you don't need a whole lot of usage in Showdown. It's a salary-based game. We need every single possibility to score points. So every point matters in Showdown. Finding ways to get different is important because you don't want to hold hands with 100 or 200 people when you cross the finish line. If you come in first, you want to come in first either solo, which is the dream but unlikely, or maybe you're sharing with like 5 or 15 people so that you maximize the amount that you win when you win. Keandre Miller does fit into that role. If he takes like a 20-yard scamper to the house, he does have a 13-yard long catch, 33-yard catch in this one. Very talented player, good at breaking tackles, and if he gets into the open field against Jacksonville, puts up a 6th spot. That's massive at 1,800. And one injury to monitor, way down at 200. We saw that Taysom had a big game receiving last week. Juwan Johnson has missed a bunch of games. He was a non-participant on Monday. He has not played since week 3. If he plays in this one, and there is a chance that he plays in this game, we do have to take advantage of the price here at $200. Doesn't have to do much if he catches a couple of balls at 200. This stat line, 3 to 6 points for 200 in salary, is absurd. So if he is active and projects to play, let's say 60+% of his usual snap count and routes run, this is an absurd price with touchdown upside at $200. Heading over to Fantasy Labs. I typically do not allow kicker and defense and captain. If you want to, go ahead, just allow it. These are the settings that I start with every single time I'm building on Showdown. I will change them from there on. As I said, if I have a captain quarterback, I'm going to make sure 2 of his wide receiver, tight end, or kickers are in the lineup. If I wanted to change this to make sure that New Orleans is in there, I am going to say I'm going to have to build a second rule. I'm going to say this one, and then I'm going to build another one where I would say including so this would be including only Jacksonville. I'd build another one where I include running back and say including only New Orleans. Captain quarterback with one of the skill position players on the other side. Wide receiver or tight end, make sure their captain is in that lineup with them. Limit to 1 defense or kicker from the same game. And then I'm going to force at least 1 wide receiver or running back where the projected ownership is less than 25%. We can add another one where we say let's add anything that projects for less than, let's say, 12% to force 2 low played players into that lineup will apply those settings. If you do not have an account over at Fantasy Labs, use my code smizzle.tv/labs with an uppercase L. Make sure that you use my link to get there. Word on the street is they might have a Sims product coming soon, along with their projections and lineup builder for NBA, college football, NFL, everything that's in season. Go take advantage of it. Or if you're an NFL only player, they do have, just for the people that use my link, an NFL only product for $40 a month. I wish you the best of luck. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.